flame. How wouldn't it be beautiful? Would there be one to blame? Or will your votes design the future?
You're listening to Grace, Geltman, and Weld on the Hammer Factor. Take it away, boys.
That's why we have the coronavirus.
That's Pat Roberts.
Scripture tells us. It's all crystal clear, my friends. It's right there. The whole sexual agenda is exactly why we're in this predicament.
I so wish I could put this on the show.
I was just waiting for you to be like, and welcome to episode.
And welcome to Hammer Factor episode 76. My name is John Grace, producer here at the show, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, policy director for the Outdoor Alliance, Louis Geltman, and co-owner of Immersion Research, John Weld. We're back quite quickly. We've got a very special guest on the show today to shed some light on the launch of a new kayak company. And until we get him on, what's been going on, fellas?
Well, greetings from Maui again.
Sweet. How is it in Maui?
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
I got
Hold on for a sec. Gavir's walking up. What's up, bro? It's Dan Gavir.
What is that?
No, I'm recording the Hammer Factor.
Is that your room with the crazy noise, Weld? What are we doing?
That's the waves, bro. It's the waves.
Oh, in Maui? Can you cut the waves? Can we cut the waves? They don't even sound like waves.
I'm talking to Gavir. Load the 6-foot board. The other one. The one with the fins.
Dude, we all know you're not in Maui, dude. You're not in Maui. How long have you been planning that one? You've been waiting to bust that one out for since we recorded.
Hold on, I'll go back inside the lanai. Hold on. All right, there we go. It's getting a little buggy out there anyway.
Oh, I'm glad Namaste overweathered the winter well.
Well, it's no problem down here.
What have you guys been doing on the kayaking front? Well, you haven't been kayaking. Lewis, did you go kayaking?
Lots of Reiki. I have a Reiki sesh coming up this afternoon.
You must be quite excited about our special guest. This is someone you've had a crush on pretty much since I've known you.
Me?
Yeah. So, you know how...
You're talking to me, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A crush? No. A fascination? Yes. No question.
I mean, you know how Lewis was all giddy when we had Ben on?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's how it's going to be on this show.
Should we announce the name? Can we talk about who it is?
Yep. Yep. I'll let you spill the beans because I know you're...
This is a whale. I landed a whale. It's EJ. EJ's coming on. Although, and you made this point when we were talking about this earlier, is he's not really part of the whitewater community. I mean, as of this moment, right? And what is that going to mean?
Well, you have to be a whitewater business owner to be a part of the whitewater community now.
Well, I mean, he's really transitioned out. But what's the industry going to look like post EJ? Is that a noteworthy thing?
Yeah, probably is.
But do you think EJ's really not? You think he's really done with whitewater?
I mean, all of these questions and many more will be answered here shortly.
Lewis, you been doing any paddling?
Not around here. It's like back to full dune status. This is just, I don't know, man. I'm starting to ask a lot of questions about why I'm living here. But
I knew it. I saw that coming.
I think you cursed us, Weld. But I don't know. Went up to the North Fork last weekend. That was nice. Tried to keep it pretty reclusive over there. Apparently Banks is now coronavirus ground zero, unsurprisingly.
There's an outbreak?
Yeah. Stoutmeister came back and said you guys saw some some pretty cavalier behavior out there last weekend.
We for sure. I mean, so I went through there like 6 weeks ago on the way to South Salmon, and it was just like, COVID did not exist as far as people hanging out in the bank's parking lot were concerned. And then, went back over there this time around and just kept it, like we were just taking out, a little further down on the main than usual, just to avoid the scene at the Banks Cafe and the scene in that big parking lot, camping up on the South Fork, just like keeping it chill. And I just heard, right after I left, that apparently there's like 25 raft guides in Banks have COVID now.
Oh, God.
So when these people have COVID, are they sick or are they just tested positive?
I don't know the answer to that, and like I really I'm fascinated to dive into this more, but I don't want to just like spread rumors about what's going on out there because it seems a little unfair. But it also sounds like sort of the inevitable result of like totally cavalier attitude about it over there.
I mean, to be honest, I can't see a raft guide getting tested just for no reason at all, right? They got sicker than hell and went in and got a test and they came out positive, right?
That's certainly a reasonable working theory.
Everyone I know who's gotten sick got sicker than hell. Like they felt like crap.
Well, that's how they knew they were positive. I mean, how many people do you know that were positive that showed no symptoms?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
I mean, that's the nut of the confusion here, right? I mean, that is the reason this is so beguiling, and is how many people are sick and don't know it.
So this could be the
Or
first.
not sick, but are contagious but don't know it. What's that?
I wonder if Banks is the first whitewater breakout.
I don't know, but I mean, like I just ran into like Tyler down at the bakery this morning, and we just had the exact same conversation, which is just like, like if anybody in the whitewater community gets it, it's like the chances that it's just gonna like rip through white salmon. I mean, I think we're being pretty careful around here, but I mean, it's all relative, and like.
Well, I mean, you rode in the same car with Ian, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I know your connections to people are greatly reduced. I mean, statistically speaking, seeing 1,000th of the number of people you came in contact with a year ago, but still.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
It's
like I think we're all like clamped down somewhat, but like the number of people you have some, hang out in the car with or like have a beer with, it's not zero. And so I don't know. I mean, it's like all you can hope is that if somebody gets sick, we find out quickly and it, like clamp down and nip it in the bud there. But it's serious business, man. Like, makes me nervous. And like, I think it's just going to get significantly worse to come.
This winter is going to be just epic carnage. There's no doubt about it.
Did you watch that video that the our listener sent us?
Yeah.
Which one was this?
This is the I do not. Nobody should look this up, and nobody should watch it. But it was
unless your social media feed literally infested with fake news stories.
I think it's
Russian agitprop.
It's like, yeah, it was like COVID 911 or something, and like I was half expecting it to be some kind of like Reno 911 QAnon parody, but it was in fact the real deal QAnon explication of how this is all some globalist conspiracy to, I don't know, enact the liberal agenda or something. It's just, you like watch this thing and it's like, I mean, it's pretty slickly put together. And it's just horrifying. And it's like this stuff is just spreading. Like, it's like there's an actual disease and then there's a social disease of just like fucking delusional idiocy. And like, it's just horrifying. You watch this thing and you're just like what is the world coming to, man? Like, it's horrifying. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. We don't need to go too far down this rabbit hole, but it's like, I don't know what you do about something like that. I mean, it's just horrifying. Like, how do you like help people who've fallen under the spell of this nonsense? How do you like prevent it from getting worse? What do you do about somebody who's, openly advocating for this stuff, which is plainly, gone from beyond silliness to, like a public health crisis? Like, there are people in our community who are advocating aggressively that other people not wear masks because it's some like, I mean, it's like, are you out there like advocating that nobody wash their hands after they take a shit? Like, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with people, man?
I'll tell you how you fix it, Lewis, is you get LWCF passed, we get more outdoor locations, get people unplugged from their computers so they can actually have some balance in the serotonin levels of their brain.
If things come down to a wire, we need to talk about this, by the way. But if things come down to a wire with this bill next week, do you have a contingency plan to bring in Grace at the last minute?
If I got to go up there and close this thing, I'll do it. You just have to let me know.
Do it, man. Who's your member of Congress now that Meadows has gone on to bigger and better things?
I don't even know. I don't even know who took his place. I mean, McHenry is our representative, but I don't even know.
You live right down the street from old Greg Walden, who's on the fence on this, per the latest.
He's on the fence now. Talk about this.
You need to knock on his door and tell him what's up, man.
Yeah, I'll address him for sure.
What's his deal with being on the fence?
I don't know with him specifically.
What would you guess his argument is?
Is there something weird attached to this bill or something?
So let's briefly summarize here for folks. I mean, we've been talking about this on the podcast forever, but the Great American Outdoors Act is a bill comprising permanent dedicated funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund and funding for deferred maintenance on public lands. Both of those things we've been working on for an unholy long time. There are people who spent their entire careers working on getting dedicated funding for LWCF. We got this thing through the Senate about a month ago, and House vote is slated for next Wednesday, July 22nd. And things are looking good. It would be really snatching defeat from the jaws of victory here if we let this thing go sideways somehow, but we're looking pretty good. That said, getting more Republicans in support of this thing will help us ensure that this crosses the finish line in good shape. So particularly kind of like moderate, gettable Republicans, if that describes your member of Congress, like please drop the line this week. There's a big tool to do that right on the front page of outdooralliance.org. Please check it out and do it.
And Meadows falls in that camp, right?
Well, I mean, this should not be that controversial. Meadows is not in Congress anymore. He's Trump's chief of staff now.
Not Meadows. I'm sorry. Walton, yeah.
Yeah, and so, for sure, the deferred maintenance part of the bill has much more Republican support. LWCF is a little bit, more mixed feelings in the Republican caucus. One Republican member I spoke with in Utah about this, his sense is that he really generally likes LWCF, but what this bill does is, every year LWCF collects $900 million in revenue from offshore oil and gas leasing royalties. And right now, that $900 million just sits there until Congress appropriates it. And so most years, Congress only spends about half of the $900 million on the purposes, that money is there for. Trump had earlier proposed this year reducing it to basically zero. And what this bill would do is make that $900 million spending $900 million of spending every year automatic. So the money just goes to the land management agencies without any particular action from Congress. And so a lot of Republicans really, even if they are generally on board with LWCF or spending on conservation and recreation priorities, they really dislike the mandatory spending aspect of this. They just want to make sure that Congress is deciding every year whether or not to spend the money or not. And
they just want to maintain that control.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a philosophical position for a lot of members of Congress. And so that's kind of a tough hurdle to get over. I think generally, the way I was responding to that with this member of Congress office I was speaking with was to say, look, there's absolutely a continued role for Congress in overseeing how this money gets spent. There should be committee oversight hearings every year in which you bring up the heads of the land management agencies and have them explain how they're spending the money, why they're spending it that way. That is entirely appropriate. But the track record, the fact that $900 million comes in every year and approximately $450 million goes out year after year after year after year after year. Like, this is, you guys are falling down on your responsibility to fulfill the promises of this program, and you guys are not doing that. So it's time to make a change here. But, for Congress to stay involved in like overseeing how that money gets spent, like that's appropriate. And there are avenues to do that remain.
Demand it. Go to outdooralliance.org, demand it, especially if you have a Republican representative. I believe that is truthful. Correct, Lewis? This is where, if you have the opportunity to influence your Republican legislator, do it. Demand it. We need more space. We need more fresh air. We need more exercise. Come on.
Are there going to be some Democrats out there who are going to balk at this just because Trump's pushing it?
No, I don't think so. I would be very surprised. I would expect every Democrat to vote in favor of this. Maybe you might lose one or two, but I would be surprised.
Oh, I hope it happens. 6 days. 6 days. That's nothing. That's when it happens. You got 6 days. If you're listening to this show, just take a minute. Just take a minute. Just take a minute.
If you're listening to this, you probably don't have 6 days. You probably have 20 minutes.
It probably happened last week. I'm sorry.
Now,
oh man, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of public lands, we had a big enduro mountain bike race down at the Green this weekend. It was pretty cool. We managed to keep everybody distant and do everything in 1 minute intervals. We had some absolute heavy hitters. Previous national downhill champion Garrett Paydaw won it. We have the national motocross enduro champion got second. This guy Russell Bobbitt. People were stoked to get out and recreate and do something and just enjoy being outside on public lands, and they're just so sick. So
that's sick, man. Did you race?
No, I was putting the whole thing on, but it was a good race. I mean, it was really, really tight. We got this thing where we put in a new trail on this piece of private property where the event's held at, and so the last 300 feet is a blind finish, so no one knows what the trail's going to be. They can't practice on it or anything. So no, it was epic. Moving on, we are going to mix it up a little bit here because we got about 20 minutes until we get Mr. Eric Jackson on the show here, and we're going to just jump right into some listener mail. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah.
Let's go right into Joey's message. Joey says, "Hey y'all, catching up on the new episodes that have come out since the pandemic. Glad to hear some new material from the Hammer Factor. Was listening to episode 74 and the discussion of diversity in paddling. I was wondering if you all had reached out to Adam Edwards and Faith Briggs to come on and discuss the work they have been doing with the Just Add Water project, and there's an attached link that I'll put in the show notes, is really great and speaks to several issues related to diversity in paddle sports. Would really like to hear their perspective on the Hammer Factor. Keep up the good work, Joey."
Their names have come up from a couple of different folks. I know Adam and Faith, they're awesome, and it would be sick to have them on. So I'm keen to reach out and see if they're interested.
And thanks for sending this our way, because I had no idea this even existed, this Just Add Water project. So anyway, I'll put a link to that in the show notes, and I think you'll probably hear them on the Hammer Factor at some time in the near future. Moving on, we got Leanna who sent the kooky video. Should I put the link in the show notes to that, or should I just let it disappear?
Do not put that in the
Is Leanna you, John Grace?
No, Leanna's not me. You guys are calling me all sorts of things, and it's not me. This just came in. I forwarded it to you guys. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
I don't believe you.
Anyway, it's like somebody wearing a mask with COVID. It's just going to end the chain right there at the Hammer Factor.
Can I ask you a question about let's suppose, I don't want to backtrack too much here, but let's suppose a paddler, God forbid, in Idaho, working on the North Fork or wherever, gets sick and dies from COVID. What is the correct response from the community that by and large ignored the virus and led to this situation? Like, what do they do? Is there a mea culpa? Is there a big ceremony? Like, how do they, do you feel like there's a joint responsibility there?
like, let's just hope that doesn't happen. It would be sad. And I mean, I don't know. Something I've been thinking about a bunch with regard to this is just, just like the social dynamics around all of this stuff, right? And it's like, I think that we, in some ways, have it especially hard as a community that really values risk taking in a lot of ways, right?
Exactly.
That's and it's exactly like we're just like in such a like a peer pressure kind of setting, and it's like if one or two people like are not wearing masks, and all of a sudden it just like feels uncool to everybody else to not do it, or it just like gets normalized, or just to be generally casual about it. It's like we're just like in such a community where it's like the worst thing that you can do is to like be a pussy about something. And it's like I think we just like need to like collectively like reckon with that dynamic in this setting, and just like it's really important that the people who are sort of community leaders and paddling set a good example on this, so that like young kids who are trying to be cool and trying to make a name for themselves in paddling or whatever don't see the way to achieve that is to be casual about something that's, it's not just putting yourself at risk. It's like the bigger deal is way more, putting your friends, your neighbors, your family, your community at risk. And it's like, it's like you can be cavalier about your own safety, but you're still going to carry a throw bag, and like be cautious about, the safety of everybody else, and like take this shit seriously.
What's your thoughts on that question, Weld?
I don't know. Like if a paddler drowns, it's a event that brings people together, and I think Lewis's analogy to like a throw rope in a boat is correct. It's a good one. I have no idea. I really don't.
We got to get somebody from Banks on to give us an on the ground play-by-play with what's going on there.
Yeah, seriously.
Andrew writes in, "Hey, Hammer Factory. I finally saved up enough cash for a dry suit. I've opted out of the convenience of Amazon and would like to make my purchase from a retailer who supports the paddling industry. Any suggestions? Thanks, Andrew Meffert." I'm going to say go with CKS, Hammer Factor Advertiser, on that one.
I can't really recommend a store because we deal with lots of good ones.
I was hoping you were gonna.
I can't pick favorites here. I think good general advice. First of all, dry suits are hard to stock for retailers. A lot of people are frustrated because they go in and a retailer does not want to stock dry suits. It's understandable because these are expensive, high ticket items and they're particular, and it's not the easiest thing to do. The best situation, the best consumer experience for buying a dry suit is where you can try on multiple sizes from multiple manufacturers. Because do your research and read the reviews to figure out who makes a reliable dry suit, has a good customer service. I personally recommend a company that has repair facilities that are easy to get to, because dry suits, no matter how well you take care of it, at some point you're going to need servicing, and it's not always the easiest thing to do on your own. But the best customer experience is in a retail store for something like a dry suit, and a spray skirt for that matter, but a dry suit, where you can find one that fits just right. And has the features you want.
Who do you think, in your opinion, Weld, holds the biggest inventory
of dry suits? I'd say
NOC.
No, it's too warm. Next Adventure would come to mind in Portland.
Okay.
There's a guy up in he's not one of our retailers, but Kayak Academy, is that the guy? He's a Kokatat guy.
Where's
somewhere around here, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. That would be where you'd see the most dry suits because it's mandatory.
It's kind of a mandatory piece of gear.
Yeah.
Andrew also comes back at us with another email. He says, "Hey, Hammer Factor, any advice for those who are passionate about whitewater kayaking but are 3+ hours away from the closest Class 4?" That's tough.
Start liking flat water.
Yeah, you got to move.
Yep.
Right.
Unfortunately, you got to move, or try and get your kicks on flat water, but that's so hard to do.
Listen, everyone's working from home now, as evidenced by how many people from out of state are moving to Hood River now, and white salmon for that matter. So work from home, Move to well, don't move here.
You guys haven't had whitewater for like 3 years, have you?
Exactly. Thank you. If you really love whitewater, move to West Virginia. That's my opinion. It's cheap. It rains all the time. Somewhere between West Virginia and Nashville, somewhere in that corridor, right?
It hasn't quit raining for a long, long time here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the kayaking
It's warm. You
has
can
been
paddle
insane.
in a t-shirt during the summer.
Even if you could just find some class 2, some good strong eddy lines, you can keep yourself entertained. But flat water, it is so hard to stay excited on flat water.
You got. I mean, if you really want to improve and you don't have ready access to whitewater, like you got to do it. You got to just like go out and get into working on your forward stroke, do stroke mobility drills. Like, it's like just like you got to just think of it like going to the gym and like, you know, I mean, you're not going to do it with the same enthusiasm that you do to running the shit, but like
you're
you got to
preparing for that day when you move. That's what you're preparing for. Then you're ready. Hit the street. Hit the ground running.
Oh, it's just so hard. You got to move. You got to move. That's what I'm going to tell you, Andrew. You got to move. That's your official Hammer Factor advice. From Q Anonymous. I'm not going to read this one. That one goes too far off the rails there.
Wait a minute.
What?
Okay.
Here's a good one. Dan Gertie writes in. Dan has wrote into the Hammer Factor before. Appreciate all of the emails, guys. The potential for composite boats to break in whitewater seems like a real problem from a design standpoint. But what about squirt boats? They have been composite forever. Good point. The squirt boaters have got it figured out. They're out there crushing it in composite.
Listen, that's not really... I mean, that's an observation, but there's no information to be gleaned from this whatsoever. There's 8 or 10 people who squirt boat, yes. No one's going to tool a squirt boat, for not only for financial reasons, but because I don't think you can make that sharp of an edge in a squirt boat.
They don't
bang them. They don't bang them on rocks. They just sit there in eddy lines and go underwater. I mean, it's not really.
And they're super heavy for what they are. Like squirt boats are like the most.
Yeah,
they're like the most basic, old school rendition of composite technology. And I think what we're interested in is whether the state of the art has advanced to a point that they would be viable for whitewater. And I mean, if you built a creek boat in the same sort of layups that you get with a squirt boat, like it would suck. Like it would.
Can you imagine like a 10/12 cap and glass creek boat? It would weigh like 90 pounds.
Well, I'm like the only person who understood that.
You know where I think a good financial opportunity is in whitewater?
Yes, I do.
I think that squirt.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that.
Hold on, I'm going to turn the wave soundtrack back on again just to decompress for a little bit.
I think that squirt boating spray skirts could be a big opportunity.
Speaking of which, your buddy Will Lyons,
Slick Will,
who used to work for you, I think, right? He's He's one of the Hammer Factor, or not Hammer Factor, LVM intern alumni, right?
Oh yeah.
The few scared. Anyway, he wrote me. He wants to make spray skirts for squirt boaters.
Cash money.
He was like, "Can you help me?" I'm like, "I'll help you, brother, but it's I mean, there's a reason why there's been 1 million people who started making these things and 0 people ever keep making them."
I was at the Noli 2 weekends ago, and there were 25 squirt boaters at Cowbells.
That's all of them. You saw them.
It was sick, man. It was sick. I think squirt boating is coming back. I'm telling you. I think it's coming back, and I think they're going to bring the technology with them.
Coming back? When was? I mean. Anyway, let's keep going because there's more to this. There's more to this composite conversation that's more relevant than screw.
This comes at us from Liam H. He says, I firmly believe that composite whitewater boats are possible. Why? Because there's already a composite creek boat available. The Shinobi is made by Gigiprod and is 33 pounds, 8 feet 10 inches long, carbon fiber Kevlar creek boat. With the incredible amount of knowledge and skill from the guys at Apex Watercraft Team, I have no doubt that some truly groundbreaking whitewater design is coming. I mean, come on. Are EJ and Pat Keller really going to work together and not make something incredible? And he's got a link here to the boat. I checked this boat out. I don't know if they're selling any of these boats, but it looks pretty sweet.
It has an immersion research adjustable backband, John.
Yeah, so obviously these guys are your clients. Have you consulted with them about this boat? What do you know about it?
I don't think it's the answer. I just don't think I don't think composites are strong enough.
You don't think so? Well, I mean, we're going to have to ask EJ about that because
I think you're wrong, Weld. I think it's just that
I think it's
too expensive.
I think my man Ryan is onto something. I think he's right about this.
Well, hang on. We'll get to Ryan here in just a second. But first, I mean, with new technologies, the seamless designs, some of the ways these boats are being built, it's always the seam that's been the problem in the composite boats. Am I right? And if you can get that one thing out of the equation,
seam?
Yeah.
No, you hit a rock and you crack your boat. Or you beat up the bottom of the boat and it just gets toweled up and soft and as malleable as a worn out plastic boat.
I think Wigwee Prod boat has some unfortunate accents of flying squirrel.
What do you mean?
Like it looks like the flying squirrel.
Well,
like the volume all the way to the tip of the stern. Like the design looks dubious to me.
Well, outside of the design, it's a cool looking boat, 33 pounds. You can't argue with that. All right, you know what? You guys keep paddling your plastic barges, and I'm going to get in something high performance here.
I'm not saying there's an alternative. I just don't think it's in traditional composites. I just don't think that's the thing.
And do you feel like, well, let's move on to Ryan. Ryan Stevenson writes in.
Yes.
And this is a good, there's a lot of nuggets, value bombs in this little guy. Ryan Stevenson, howdy boys. Traditional carbon fiber composites, aka thermosets, are not, and he has that capitalized, the way forward with boat materials. You can add as much material as you want, but you would add a lot of weight to combat pitoning that shit in half. Here's the future. Continuous fiber reinforced thermoplastics with a cool little CFRTP after it. This is the newest hot shit that Boeing and a lot of aerospace companies are now using in their planes. It basically adds carbon fiber or fiberglass fibers into engineered plastics. Sounds really cool, such as polypropylene, nylon, polycarbonate, whatever. The bike industry has already begun using this stuff. Really cool link I'll put into the show notes. You can keep weights down and greatly increase impact resistance over typical carbon fiber parts. It would be an ideal fit for whitewater boats and would greatly reduce the occurrence of cracking boats. There would probably be some weight savings because of this. Did I mention it's recyclable? Thermoset carbon fiber parts are left in landfills for eons. Real good point. What's the catch? Manufacturing technology is not up to snuff for it. It has been around a long time, but the industry is only relatively recently throwing a lot of resources at it for mass production. If a boat manufacturer could produce a boat with this stuff, it would be revolutionary. Side note, tell your kayaking industry friends, partners to hit up Ben Kinsella or I to chat more about it at atlasdesignhouse.com. It looks like these boys have got a design firm that they've started up. I mean, what say you, Weld?
I think he's right. I mean, I think there's a lot of problems, not only in terms of the cost of the process, which is way beyond Whitewater's budget right now, but I think even Liquid Logic played around with something similar to this a few years ago.
Yeah, with Milliken. They had a partnership with Milliken, and Milliken threw hundreds of thousands of dollars at this.
Yeah. But that was for the thermoformed boats, right? Or did they do something with legit thermoplastics?
No, this was like a weaved thermoplastic boat. It was similar to what they're talking about. I'm no expert, but it looked very similar.
Yeah. They had a problem with the abrasion. Was their Achilles heel with that one, right?
Exactly. Like the boat was really strong and it worked really well and it did not crack. I mean, you could just take a hammer and beat the bejeebies out of it and it would never break. But when you started wearing it over rocks and whatnot, the fibers broke down too quickly. So
I just, my gut feeling, I'm not an expert, my gut feeling is this is the avenue under which you see a new boat material.
yeah, I would just love to see something. I tend to agree with you almost, Weld, that carbon's not the way. I mean, I'm no expert on the design process, but I would love to see something else in this sport before I'm too old to do it.
Seriously.
You know, I mean,
polyethylene sucks.
I mean, one thing you have to contend with is that we're at a low point now in terms of resources being put into whitewater. You know, I mean, Johnson isn't about to spend a bunch of money developing a whitewater boat.
yeah, we got Johnson, we got Pelican,
Yeah, Pelican.
we got
Maybe Apex.
What's Johnson?
They're one of the big conglomerates.
Who do
Johnson
they own?
Outdoors.
whitewater wise. Who do they own? I don't know.
They used to own Necky, but they sank that.
I miss Necky. I always thought they were cool boats.
Yeah, very surfy.
Well, we've got several different things to get through here, but real quick before we add on EJ, there is a whitewater race that's getting ready to happen that Hammer Factor is throwing their weight behind.
Oh, really?
Huh?
Indeed. 40 years. 40 years. The Upper Yough race has been going on. And we're going to bring in race director for the Upper Yough, Kara Weld, here for just a minute before we get EJ on to talk about this event. She has some pretty lofty goals about getting 40 ladies up to the start line. And let's see how she's going to do the race. And welcome to the Hammer Factor co-owner of Immersion Research, Kara Weld.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Ah, looky there.
What's
We
up,
got
Kara?
Kara.
Kara's here in
Hi, guys.
Maui with me. How was the hot stone detox, babe?
Yeah, do tell. How was it?
This again.
So,
Well, yeah.
So Kara, you're in your 40th year here at the race. Tell us what's new, what's going on, and yeah, just fill us in.
Right, 40 years. It's a long time, and we're anticipating this big event, which has been toned way down to just kayaking, which really it's what it's all about anyhow. So
I mean, in terms of removing the party and that kind of thing.
right, so we're having no party, no award ceremony, no beers at the takeout. It's simply going to be 60-second starts and about the race. It was that or no race, right?
So how are you doing? How are you signing everybody up and giving them their
Right.
bib numbers and all that?
Exactly. So registration is all online. It closes on the 22nd, Wednesday, but we are almost at capacity.
Really?
Yes.
To be clear, guys, I have nothing to do with this race. I'm asking questions I legitimately do not know. Kara runs this race.
Yeah, we run this race, and you know what that means.
What's capacity?
Well, that's a good question.
How many you got towing up?
Okay, so IR and Wilderness Voyagers is the co-sponsor. We've been running this race since I think 2012. We've been fluctuating between 54 to almost 70 competitors up until this year. Right now we're at 92.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. We have we were going to have to actually, because of the water and 60-second intervals, we're going to have to cut off registration at 100 boats.
So that means just you won't have time to get everybody started before the last guys are out of water.
Right.
Okay. Okay. All right. So 100. Okay. If you want to do the race, go to. Where do you sign up for this race?
Right. You go to. John made it easy for me. It's actually pretty easy. The easiest way to find it is to go to tinyurl.com/upper Yough.
Okay.
IOUGH.
I made a short link.
Cool.
It's quite a
That's what I did. That's what I brought to the table.
He did help. Look at that.
Are you
I was
gonna
like, I got this,
Are
babe.
you gonna track and retarget some people with some IR ads with this tiny URL link?
Oh yeah, that's we're all about that.
Time for that.
We have a whole team of people doing just that.
Yeah. So we one of the big things this year is we set a goal to I've always wanted to increase women's participation in this race since I started racing 100 years ago, and the most we've ever had have been 12 women, which was a big deal like back in the late 80s. And we've never gotten more women than that. So
Dirty Dozen.
yeah, and we just, I don't know, which was a random thought, 40 years, 40 women, let's see if we can get 40 women. And we are at 29.
Ah, that's incredible.
Yeah, super psyched about that. And just seeing how pumped people are about it, encouraging their friends. Every year I'm like, encourage your friends. But I don't know, just simply setting some kind of goal seems to have helped. We also have the biggest junior class that we've ever had. And these are some young juniors, which is really exciting. And they run the river all the time. They're solid. Kind of like what you guys have seen with the green race, I think.
Do you have a age cutoff for your juniors, Kara?
That has not come up yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a dad that's going to escort some kids, which is totally fine. Yeah, so the nice thing about the Upper Yough, a lot of nice things about the Upper Yough, warm water, lots of booths, is that you've got, in terms of social distancing, you've got about 1.5 miles flat water to the start, and 1.5 miles out to the takeout from the finish line. So there's tons of room to spread out. It's really easy to protect our starter. We're going to put some yellow tape. We've got someone there just to keep people away from him. And same with our finish line. That's where a lot of people hang out. Well, they hang out at both places, but the finish line people tend to gather. We're going to encourage them to catch their breath and then just keep floating on downstream. Registration, like I said, is all online and is closed Wednesday before the race. Everyone will get an email with the start list, so they'll know their start time. And we're going to ask them not to show up more than 5 or 10 minutes before your start, so we don't have too many people gathering.
And no sign up on the day.
No sign up on the day. You are done on Wednesday at noon. Yeah, and then bib pickup, we're going to have somebody doing, basically tossing you your bib and your t-shirt and go.
Sick.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Racing is here, and it is here to stay. We need to get some composite kayaks out there racing. We just
traditionally the Upper Yough race has had some wild water boats race, like full length VR boats. We haven't seen that in years, like maybe 8 or 9 years.
The dynamic there is one person has to do it, and then there's 3 or 4 other people who can do it will step up, but no one's jumping up in line to make that happen.
That was what like Andrew was saying, that he, at the last years he was there, he was like the only person who even wanted to race a wild water boat, and so he was like, well, I'll race Tornado just so I'm competitive.
If Andrew races a composite boat, makes it known, there would be 3 or 4 other people who could get a composite race boat or composite DR boat down that river.
So that's my next question for Kara is who you got? Who's gonna take it down this year? Ian's out here, Andrew's out here, I think Calhoun's out here.
No, Calhoun is registered.
Yeah. Making a cross-country trip to.
I think Nori.
I don't know. He's registered, and there's been a wild water boat sighting in town, I heard. So.
And who's going to take down the women's class, you reckon?
Right. So we've got some the last 2 year previous women's winners are not registered.
Is Mackenzie racing?
Mackenzie she's struggling. She's a nurse. She lives in North Carolina. She knows she can safely do the race, but there's a lot of people struggling with, like, is this the right thing to do, to gather and race? And she's seeing this firsthand every day, and she's not messing around. And we hope nobody is. I mean, that's our goal, is that anybody that's racing can feel incredibly safe. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens. And those that are a little loose about that, we hope that you guys think twice about that, and certainly respect everybody else, and be as careful as you can. Word is the Upper Yauch's been a pretty loose place for hanging out on the river in groups.
It's like a gigantic COVID cloud at Nashville. You can't even see Thomas Fold as you approach. It's sort of like a big mist.
Been renamed COVID Falls. That's what I heard. So, at least on race day, you have a nice little bubble. You have a minute in front of you and a minute behind you, right?
Well, everybody has their own comfort level. Regardless, go out and race. Nobody gets sick from going outside and exercising. Just do it responsibly.
Right, exactly. No reason why we can't do it here.
All right. We'll put a link to that in the show notes, and thank you, Kara Weld.
Sure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Kara.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Keep us going here so I don't have to edit anything out while I bring EJ onto the show.
Well, what was your best result at the Upper Yacht race?
Second. I was in the heat. I was in the middle of the Roger Zabel era, where he was pretty unbeatable. But we all raced full-length DR boats. Like, to be competitive in my era, you had to be in a full-length DR boat.
What was your...
Do you think that's what killed the race?
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, guys.
What was your practice lap to boat patching session ratio?
I had it pretty wired. You got it dialed with like a wave hopper. You got all the lines dialed with a wave hopper, which is not quite. I mean, a wave hopper is really nowhere close to a DR boat. The only time, and then I raced a full-length DR boat probably, I'd say maybe 6 times. And the only time I really screwed up was I went far left. This is totally inside baseball. I went really far left, triple drop, or Charlie's Choice. I went really far left to Charlie's Choice and pitoned a rock so bad I literally slid up to my neck into the spray skirt. You could do that in a DR boat. I mean, my feet went past the foot pegs. I was screaming down triple drop or Charlie's Choice in my DR boat, literally up to my neck in the spray skirt, like up to my armpits, down into the cockpit room.
Awesome.
Yeah. But 20. Oh shit! What was my fastest time? Low 29s was my fastest time. And you could easily break 30 in a downriver boat if you didn't eddy out and didn't piton. That's a manageable number.
I think Zabel
was like 27, 28 minutes. There he is.
All right. Well,
nice. All right,
welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Many-time world freestyle champion, founder of Jackson Kayaks, and recent founder of Apex Kayaks. Welcome to the show, Eric Jackson.
Hi, Lewis. Hi, John.
What's up, EJ? How you doing, bud?
What is? Are you drinking a beer?
God. It's like, I don't know. Well, looking at John and Lewis, it's like Washington D.C. since the Maryland 80s and 90s.
Right.
EJ.
John Grace is just kind of like, I don't know, whatever the last 20 years.
EJ, I just got to tell you, John Weld is like as giddy as can be to have you on the show here. I just got to go ahead and preface this. You're one of his heroes. Just admit it, Weld. Just admit it.
I mean, is there a more influential, controversial, interesting person in Whitewater than Eric Jackson?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And this is a show about whitewater kayaking, right?
Yeah.
All right. Enough said.
So John Weld interviewed me in 1993 for AJA. Oh my God, it was like classic. Somehow that came up So when I forgot about that, and I saw that, and I was like, I totally forgot about that. Holy shit! It was like one of the best written interviews that I've ever seen. Like I was like, you must have done really good in school, man.
Really well in school.
Good school, real good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, EJ. I know you got a lot going on right now. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
Where did the Apex idea come from?
You mean the concept of the company or the product, or what do you mean?
Just the brand and the carbon kayak, and just the entire company itself.
I wanted to make carbon fishing kayaks back when, specifically when I was at Jackson Kayak, but we are a rotomolding facility there, and the people, production people, we had people that were qualified to do composite boats. Tony Lee and John Shepard. John Shepard made squirt boats for wilderness systems and touring boats and stuff like that were composite, fiberglass, Kevlar, whatever. Tony Lee, same thing at Dagger, making composite boats. We had skill sets at Jackson Kayak that could do it, but those guys had done it before and didn't want to get into composites, so we never ended up doing composites there. When I left Jackson Kayak, I just basically thought about, okay, what is it I haven't done that I really want to do? And I want to do things that nobody had ever done before, of course. So this is what, so the brand Apex, I wanted to do a lightweight fishing kayak to start, high performance fishing kayak. We've had dealer summits at Jackson Kayak every year, and you say, hey guys, if you were to do anything different, what would you do? It'd be like, make lightweight boats. The boats are too heavy. And it was like, okay. And then next year, make lightweight boats. The boats are too heavy. And then these fishing kayaks aren't made by aren't being paddled by 20-year-olds that are athletes. A lot of them are, grandpa that's like got bad knees and a bad back, 70 years old. And he goes like, oh, like, how's he going to get a 100-pound fishing kayak on the roof racks? Well, guess what? He's not. So what do they have? Trailers, and they have boat ramps, and it's like, what's the point of kayak fishing if you're going to have to put a trailer and a boat ramp? You might as well do it like I do and have a 250 horsepower Evinrude on the back and go 70 miles an hour, right? It's way cooler if you're going to go to a boat ramp. So anyway, that's kind of where it came from, is number one, lightweight, and then there's 37 brands making fishing kayaks out of rotomolded plastic now. When we did the first Coosa, there was just a couple brands making fishing kayaks, but they weren't even fishing kayaks. They were recreational kayaks that they would add rod holders to, right? So anyway, the fishing kayak market just exploded and got bombarded with all these brands and whatever. But if you look at them, they're all going like this. J.H. Treasure's tails are all pretty similar. Anyway, the Apex, I just had things that I'd wanted to do, and this is my vision of the next generation fishing kayak, I guess.
Let's take a step back, because we have to discuss this. You're no longer with Jackson Kayak. This whole thing is because you're no longer with Jackson Kayak, or part of it is at least. What happened there? What's the story?
Basically, in a nutshell, I'm no longer a majority owner of the company, and this guy, my partner hired this guy that's super awesome. He's Peter Housen. He's now running the company. He's president and CEO. Good guy. Would have been a good guy to have in the business before. But I didn't start a kayak company and not be in charge of it. You know what I mean? So so either I'd rather start over than be an employee of a company that says Jackson Kayak on the side. Put it that way.
So, you started Jackson as a whitewater brand, and there was a time at which you'd say you were only going to make whitewater kayaks, and over time that changed, obviously. And even you personally,
we make whitewater kayaks, not once.
What's that?
I never, in my history of my life, I never said we would only make whitewater kayaks that I'm aware of. Yeah. I will tell you what I've always said.
Yeah.
When I started the company, what I always said is we'll only make whitewater kayaks until we are the #1 brand, and I'm completely confident that I can maintain the #1 position in the marketplace as a whitewater company, and divert my energies into other categories too. That was the line I always took. And in 2007, I was second year being number one. I was pretty confident looking at it that we could maintain that number one position and get into recreation or fishing or whatever.
But you personally, I mean, you became more of a kayak fishing guy over the past 10 years. I mean, that was a transition I've been watching from the sidelines. And would you say that's true?
I'm becoming more of a, what do you mean?
Not kayak fishing, more of a fishing. You're more into fishing than you are whitewater, it seems like.
I probably spend 100 days a year in a whitewater boat and 100 days a year fishing. I probably spend 100 and I'd probably do, I don't know, I haven't counted exactly, but I'm about 50-50 whether I'm in a whitewater boat or fishing. I mean, I did some good back freewheels off the waterfalls in Rancid City, in a new boat yesterday, and running whitewater and whatever. But I'm definitely I'm not like training and doing what I was doing before. I mean, I am training. See, like, check it out. I just did.
You're still shredded, dude.
I just did a 20-minute endurance paddle in a slalom boat. Then I did 60-second sprints. Lewis would appreciate this. And I did 30-second sprints. Like right now, I'm ready to go to U.S. team trials for slalom or freestyle trials. Like, I'm trained up, but technique-wise, like, anyway. So I'm not solely focused on that at all. I'm just kind of maintaining and whatever while I'm pursuing my fishing dream as well.
So would you consider making a whitewater boat out of composite?
Oh, absolutely. Of course I would.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, I think the big limitations would be cost, and then they're just too delicate, right? I mean, traditional composites means
it's like anything, if you live in Washington, where Lewis comes from, or where you came from, where we lived for a while anyway, you're very aware there's people that only wanted to paddle composites on the Potomac, right?
Yeah.
You go to Rocky Island, all they paddle is a cut-off slalom boat or some kind of composite boat. They didn't ever want to paddle plastic boats.
But that's a niche of a small sport.
I'm a big fan of plastic boats because of the nature of them, the durability. They're amazing they're the best material overall for whitewater in most situations. But at the same time, there's absolutely a market for composite. Every type of boat that's made out there, there's plenty of applications for a composite boat, and the performance is always going to be higher unless just pure beating on the rocks, like super steep creek, manky stuff. It's just not fun paddling a composite boat. It just hurts. That soft impact, that bending when it hits rocks is really nice. The first wave sport creek boat that I did was the Y, and we made it out of John Jaycox made it, and we took it to California. Oh my God, it was just terrible. It was like bouncing down these slides. You're like, ah! And like, who wants to take it down another lap?
So, go ahead.
So, EJ, this boat, your new boat, it's got some super interesting designs and features that no other boat in the flatwater or fishing market or whatnot has. Specifically, it's got this kind of crazy bow on it. It's got the open deck in the back, getting rid of the scupper holes. Where did all of that come from? I mean, it's just completely different than anything else out there. Like, how did you guys come up with that looking boat?
The total package of that boat came from a whole variety of sources. We had input from marketing, input from Bob Blair, who's our main designer, was like would be where the majority of the very specific things came from. So Bob Blair owns a sup company called Speedboard. And if you go to speedboardusa.com, you can see his boards. They're racing offshore boards. He makes like $6,000 racing stuff or whatever. Anyway, he did the whole design. He did the CAD work. He made the initial plug that we worked on from there. And so the initial concepts. Okay, what kind of a bow? What's the look going to be? It was decided that it would be a piercing bow. It would be versus a lifting bow. If you look at all of the the fishing kayaks out there, they're all flared with, with rocker in the front. So when they go through waves, they go like this. Well, our bow goes straight through. The hull, so with the plastic fishing kayaks, look like, you see these crazy contours in the hull. There's only one reason for that. It's like, how do we take this super flexible plastic and mold it into this big thing and somehow have it not get just all out, bent out of shape when the person puts it on racks, you know what I mean? That's the whole goal, is to add rigidity. There isn't any performance in that. We're able to make a board flat planing hull, super low draft, because it's foam core carbon, right? So it's board stiff. So the plastic creates design limitations that you cannot do for hulls, for example. Now, carbon has different design limitations. Plastic can do all these nooks and crannies and little sharp corners. Composites have to be smoother lines if you don't want to have resin and super heavy. You want it to be super light. So you're forced to have more flowing lines. So our mandate was like simple elegance is what we were looking for. So we wanted to be performance. So it's lowest draft, fast, stable, maneuverable, but with the ability to track well, good in nice calm water, good punching through, breakers in the ocean. Like you punch through a breaker, water comes over the bow, it's straight out the back. You do that in any other boat, it fills up completely, and all this, then you're like, most people can't do it anyway, but those that try it, the scupper, it's like a bathtub, and slowly it drains and lifts, and then the next breaker you're done anyway. So anyway, it's just performance for the expert, but it's also high performance for the 80-year-old lady that can't even try a fishing kayak because she can't even get it to the water. Now she can get it to the water. It's got a swivel seat. She can go up, turn sideways, sit down, swing her legs over, push off, and go. So that what helps the 80-year-old person with a disability go paddling helps the super athletic, hardcore fishing person that's going to punch through the breakers do things better also. It's kind of a neat combo.
So let's talk price tag, because this could be, well, go ahead. What's the retail price on this?
It's the most expensive kayak that I know of, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's $11,000. How did we arrive to the price? It was really simple. My design process was, okay, we're going to make the best kayak out there. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, what about, this is pretty expensive. Okay, we don't care. We're not going to spend money for no reason, but what are the right materials? What's the right process? Just to do the seat, it costs more money for me to make my seat than it costs to make a whitewater boat. My seat costs as much as a Nirvana to make. Okay, with the seat, the whole deal, like with the grab handles and the hip pads and the back man. Just the seat costs more than a Nirvana, right? Now, well, why don't you make a cheaper seat? It's like, because I wanted a lightweight swivel carbon fiber seat. Is there another way to do it? Mass produced, we could get the price down. Let me shut that off.
Hey, if that's somebody ordering a boat, take it.
Yeah. Which phone is it? Business phone, personal phone. I got two phones right here. It's like anyway. Hey John, you're having a fat tire too?
Yes, sir.
By the way, I can get you more of that, and if you don't want to pay for it, I'll send you a couple of cases.
You the man. I'll hit you up for that.
Yeah,
No, in all seriousness, let's back up. What is the reception? What's been the reception of the retailers, the people you've worked with and known forever, when you say, "Hey, I got this sick boat you need to bring in your shop. It's only going to cost you this many $1,000." How is that? How did that conversation go?
So far, well, I'm pretty selective about who I've called so far. Actually, had a call right before we got on the phone. I'm not going to say who it was, just because I don't want to put anybody on the spot. And the first one's like, let me think about it. I need to really think. It's a big investment and whatever and blah, blah, blah. But so far, we're batting 1,000. I have had every phone call I've had, every dealer has picked us up.
So why not cut the price by 30% and just sell them direct?
Okay, good question. So there's
or 20% or
some smaller amount.
I'm not advocating abandoning retailers, but at a pricey product like that.
I am selling direct. I do sell direct. I did a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter's over. The apexwatercraft.com will have a store you can buy direct. In my opinion, and in my experience in the industry, the dealers are one of the most important aspects of that, and they provide infinitely more touch points. You can be the most savvy web dude of all time and social media and really have a big audience. I've got 300,000 Facebook fans or whatever it is, right? But that doesn't mean I can do a post and sell 1,000 boats right away, right? It just this is a boat that doesn't do justice until you pick it up. When you take your first couple strokes and you have a 35-pound fishing kayak, you're like this, wah, and you're like, oh my God. When that happens, all of a sudden, that's what sells the boats. And so anyway, the dealers are a critical part of my program. My intention with Apex from the beginning is to start with a Kickstarter, and the purpose of the Kickstarter is for me to get direct interaction with the consumer actually selling the boat. And I wanted to do it in a way where those people that aren't my friends that I've known for years, the ones I'm talking to, but new people that are never heard of Eric Jackson, and they're just looking at the boat and see what they like and didn't like and whatever, so that I would be more prepared when we opened up the dealers. And I wasn't going to even call a dealer until July 21st when the Kickstarter's finished. But Dave Hull from Kayak Instruction in Dallas, Texas called me. He used to be, in 2004, I opened up for Jackson Kayak in his townhouse there before he even had a retail shop, and he became one of our biggest dealers. Like, he crushed it, and he's got an amazing program of both teaching and selling. He sells massive amounts of fishing kayaks and whitewater kayaks, whatever, in Dallas of all places. But he was like, dude, okay, man, like, let's go. I want to sell your boats. And so I ended up opening them up last week, and then I was like, I can't not call the other dealers. Now that I've opened a dealers, I'm going to go ahead and talk to the other ones. So I started an outreach program, and so far I've talked to 4 dealers, and I've opened. Oh, you like one of my dealers? This was totally random, but one of my dealers is Super Yachts, Tenders, and Toys.
What is that?
We sell a ton of Rants skirts. I know all about those.
They sell like $50 million and up yachts, and then the tenders for the yachts that usually start at like $100,000, meaning like the little boats that you go to the yachts start at $100,000. And then the toys for the yachts, which are like jet skis and those waterboard thingies that shoot you in the air, and kite surfing and paraglider doohickeys, and now apparently Apex Watercraft tier carbon fiber kayak that will match your yacht collar at no extra charge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude. See this? Well, this is the market.
Right. Coming from a whitewater standpoint, it makes no sense. I mean, to be honest, you look at this, you're like, this is insanity. And you talk about making the best thing you possibly can make, but and at least in our market, you're like, sure, I can make a $800 spray skirt, right? That the very best paddlers would really appreciate, but all the features of that we basically lost on most of my consumers. They'd be overspending for what they're going to get, and it's not going to enhance their paddling one bit, right? Yeah. Which I think would be the number one critique you'd have against an $11,000 fishing kayak would be that spending that kind of money is not going to catch you one more fish.
Yeah,
for most of these guys, the kayak is a means to an end, not the end itself.
Yeah,
right?
That's actually incorrect. That's actually where
This is a topic I want to get into. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's actually so an accessory. I mean, a paddle would say, but an accessory like a spray skirt's a critical part. Like if every spray skirt blows every time you paddle, blows off, and then your boat fills with water, and you create one that doesn't, that's $800, then people would need it, and anybody is going to buy it. That needs that. But if all the skirts will generally stay on, and it's just a little bit lighter, a little more durable, or a little bit easier to get on, it's going to be tougher. But if you have a kayak, in bicycles, you pay like $1,000 a pound to shave off. But you get more than just the weight savings. There's more to it for a $10,000 bike versus a $5,000 bike, whatever. This kayak is a third of the weight of the competitors. When I go kayak fishing, I have a huge advantage in two ways. If in tournament kayak fishing alone, let's just talk about tournament fishing. Now the tournament fishermen giving me a lot of shit like, that doesn't even look like a tournament kayak and blah 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 and whatever. And it's like, well, okay, well that's fine. I don't really care what you say. All I care about is what's the deal. There's only two ways a kayak can help you win a fishing tournament, right? Way number one is to get to places that other people can't get to before they get there. And so one way to do that is that your boat is lightweight and you can go to unimproved public access points to launch, meaning you park somewhere, you run through the woods on park property, and you long distance to some creek or whatever, and the boat floats shallower so you can get into shallower water or whatever. You can access points. This boat does that better than any boat, period. It's lighter by a third of the weight of any boat out there. It's like, okay, so the lightest boat would be about 78 pounds. This is about 35 pounds. So it's, let's say 50% of the weight of the lightest ones, but the boat that most people are fishing out of, it's a minimum of a third. So they're not doing that. They're putting in at boat ramps and trying to go someplace. So that's number one way it gives you an advantage. Now the other way, people are like, now we're talking fishing. I know you want to talk whitewater, but this is a fishing kayak, so I'm giving you an example. It's $11,000 fishing kayak, right? So this isn't a whitewater boat. The other way is you're allowed to have a 3-horsepower electric motor during a tournament in a fishing kayak. I think it's stupid. I think, why would you have a kayak with a motor on it? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Just, if you're going to do that, you might as well put 250 horsepower and go really fast, right? But it's the rule. So my boat goes 6.5 to 6.7 miles an hour with 3 horsepower. Every other kayak out there that I'm competing against goes 5 miles an hour or less. I just go like this, bye-bye, and I go, wah.
But the flaw in your logic is that this is a tournament people, which are like pro paddlers and not consumers, right? These guys aren't buying anything from you.
Okay, so now you're talking about...
Jesus Christ. You're on the hammer factor, son. You got to get it together.
Hi, honey. Hi. I'm on the hammer factor right now. And can I get up to... are people going to pay $11,000? Are people going to pay $11,000 for my kayak?
Hi, Christine.
Hi. Okay, let me back up here. Let me get back up. All right, EJ. Let's just say I have been very excited about this. I thought it was going to be in the $5,000-$6,000 range. I wasn't quite expecting the home run there on the price, but
well, then I gotta get her to text me. But keep going. I'm listening.
Listen.
That's my wife.
I'm giving you nuggets here. Nuggets. All right.
I'll answer for him. Go ahead.
All right. So I fully agree with you.
Texting. You guys keep going.
Yeah. Look, I fully agree with you on the performance. Faster, easier to get in the boat, quicker with the motor, all the things that are going on in kayak fishing. But throughout following your Kickstarter campaign and whatnot, why can't we see you going faster than another boat, outracing it? Why can't we see you catching more fish? You know, have you just not had time to convey that message? Because it's fragmented on what I'm getting, and I want that value. I want it to come at me so people will be interested in it, but I can't see you catching fish. Why have you not shown some tarpon being pulled into this damn kayak?
That's easy. That's really easy. My entire product launch, I went out my whole Kickstarter video. I got the boat done. I was going to launch in friggin' April, but this friggin' COVID-19 thing, that started right when I launched the company. How many companies have launched from ground zero to launch during COVID-19. Well, I know one, Apex Watercraft. I'm sure there's others, but what kind of retard would do that, right? People would say. Like,
Well, this could work to your favor. I mean, you know that
There's no
right now,
R
I mean,
word on the
a
Hammer
lot of these
Factor.
retailers cannot keep product in stock, especially stuff that's made overseas. I mean, this could be really to your advantage, right?
So, okay, yeah, I actually don't think it is a disadvantage, but it did cost me a lot more money and take a lot more time. My entire
Fair enough.
Kickstarter video, every shot you see me in a kayak was taken in one afternoon with Dane with one drone and then some video in one place at Rock Island. We did one lap down Rock Island. That's all we did. And we videoed, and we had a video ready. We already did the interview. Okay, we got the boat. Boom, boom. We finished the boat. Boom, boom. We video one shot down Rock Island. We get the clips and we throw it in, and that's it. Now, I understand there's a lot of missing ingredients in there. Like, this isn't a year's worth of promo video. This is literally 3 hours at Rock Island. That's my Kickstarter video. Is that ideal? No. But is that going to have to do? Yeah, it's going to have to do. It's part of the deal, man. It's like that's part of. So now, since then, I'm like, people were hammering me like, dude, I don't even see the kayak in your video. You're not showing anything. This is all fluff or whatever. Like, okay, you need to see the rod storage. You need to see how fast it goes with a motor. You need to see this. And then I went a second time at Rock Island, and I took it down, and I put a Torpedo on it, a motor, and then I showed the rod holders and started showing some details. The next trip we're going to do, we'll do a trip to Florida, and we'll do some salt water. We'll punch through some waves.
No, check this out. Just get 2 Torpedoes, put one on the back of a Jackson boat, one on the back of your boat, and just get an aerial shot.
I will never personally do that because I never try to make something else look bad to make myself look good. Anybody who
cover the logos on it.
It doesn't matter. Anybody who owns a kayak already knows that anybody who saw that video that shows how fast mine goes, if they've done it, if they've got a boat, they know that I'm going faster than they've ever gone.
I'm pulling for you here. I'm not beating you up here. I want to see this thing happen, and I'm just.
No, I know. But that's why I'm not going to put a Jackson boat or whatever. Now, Chad Hoover is going to do that.
Okay. Perfect.
But I'm not going to do that. Okay, because I just don't do that. But
tell Dane I got his gold-plated Jackson jersey from the Green Race last year. I got to send to him anyway. Side note.
Dane's been doing a good job for me. Doing he's been all the video shots and all the photos, all of my marketing shots. This whole COVID-19 thing is unbelievable. So Dane would normally he was in Malaysia or whatever the hell he was, Indonesia, I don't know. He was somewhere and he flew home to get home, and then he's been here since like February. He's never been here for more than a couple of weeks.
Can we talk about Dane real quick, since we're on the subject?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, how hard are you working to get Dane out of Jackson? Straight up. Onto, like, I don't know, Liquid Logic or one of these guys?
No, not at all. Are you kidding? I
am kidding, yeah, but I want to hear your side. I want to hear your take on it.
Rule number, so, I'm still an ambassador for Jackson Kayak. I want Jackson. Everybody that works 9 miles up the road, there was 180 employees at one point under my employ. I hired a lot of the people I didn't hire, but I hired all the top management. I hired most of the people that have been there for 15 years. I hired those people. I want those people to have jobs and be successful. The Dane, Emily, and Nick are still. They grew up with the company. They've got jobs there. The bottom line is it didn't make sense for me to do whitewater because it's like, is there any way I'm going to get whitewater and that done at the same time? And am I interested in making plastic right now? No. Will my kids will Dane only paddle carbon boats? No, he needs plastic. Will Emily only paddle carbon? No, she needs plastic. Nick? No. So until I'm ready, so there's always going to be a job for them there at Jackson, and I don't need to pull them from Jackson. Let Jackson Kayak pay them while I'm, building this business.
So another question, Dane, arguably almost not even arguable at this point, maybe the best whitewater kayaker in the world right now, right? Running, what most people consider to be terrifyingly difficult whitewater. Does that worry you? Are you concerned about this? I mean, as a parent, I mean, as a fellow parent, I mean, I think about it. I think
anytime anybody runs something that's extremely dangerous if you're not online, yeah. But do I worry? I've got a lot of quotes about worry. Like one of them is, "Worry is interest paid in advance on a debt you may never owe." And I've had many problems in my day, most of which have never happened. And worry doesn't empty tomorrow of its sorrows, only today of its strength.
You sound like coping mechanisms more than actual feelings.
You know, if you wonder whether I worry or not, hopefully that answers your question.
I worry.
Well, anyway, hold on 1 second. My beer's empty. You think of a question.
Oh, I got a bunch.
I got plenty.
I'm fully loaded. EJ gets up and walks off. I may cut this interview off.
What's your time frame here, Mr. Grace? I know you got to leave.
I got 15 minutes. So
all right.
We're good for 15 minutes.
Hey, when are you going to ask me a good question? Like, what is the purpose of your logo and all that stuff?
I don't care.
Okay, so what's Dane going to do post kayaking? I mean, there's going to come a point in time when Dane is no longer going to be interested, or he wants to move on. What do you think he's going to do? Does he go work at Jackson, or
don't you feel like we should get Dane on for this part of the show?
I want to hear his dad's thought on it.
Okay. Upstairs. I can pull him in anytime. You want me to grab him?
Well,
no,
let's keep focused here.
He's just up there. He's editing a video that I can't tell you what it is, but it's a Jackson kayak video. But I know all about it. But anyway,
tell us about this new boat. I saw a little teaser messing with mold. What kind of boat is it?
Oh, the new Jackson boat?
Yeah.
I can't tell you about it. Like I've got video. I can't even show the video. I'm like, wait. Why am I paddling this boat? I can't even post on it. Like, that's stupid. Like, I don't even work at Jackson Kayak. I'm like, oh, I got this cool, man. Check this out. Like, my Emily's like, Dad, you cannot post that.
One of the things we were talking about before you came on was talking about, I mean, you could argue about the financial sensibility of making all the designs that you did, but you did when you were at the helm of Jackson. I mean, you made a tremendous amount of whitewater boats, right? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I mean, this was an enormous boon to many customers out there who needed a boat that fit them properly.
The bigger and smaller boats in particular.
Right. I mean, especially with you leaving Jackson and the way the industry is right now, I think the sport is going to be. I mean, the whitewater plastic boat industry is going to be very, very different. I mean, would you agree with that? And what do you think it's going to look like? I mean, how's things going to shake out here?
Well, people would say you've got to be an idiot to make a boat for a 30 to 80 pounder. You got to be an idiot to make. Or in the words of somebody that's prominent in the industry, I'm not going to say, fat guys kayak. That's an oxymoron. But anyway, my approach to the sport. You know, as you know, I go to event to event. I go to rivers. I do demo. I just feel like I've paddled probably with 90% of the whitewater kayakers out there at least once. Just getting around everywhere. I feel like I always wanted to have boats for everybody for what they needed, and that was more important to me than like every time a consultant would come to Jackson Kayak and they would look at the spreadsheets, every time, 100% of the time, and I know this happens at every business because I was at Confluence, I was with Dagger, I was with Perception. I didn't see spreadsheets at Perception, whatever, but they would go and say, look at this, you only sold X amount of these boats out of that one mold of that size, and you sold a lot more of this. You should make more boats like that, and forget if you make more than just whitewater. If you make whitewater and fishing, you sold 2,500 boats out of the mold last year of that fishing boat, and it's 4 years old, and you only sold 250 boats out of that mold, and it's only 2 years old, and it's a whitewater boat. You should, and the expense of making the mold and all the R&D and the marketing, you shouldn't be making these. You really need to just focus on that. That is what every kayak brand deals with every day. And the only brands that will ever be doing the right thing for the consumer tells these guys, fuck off.
But what if they're losing money every year?
I'm going to make this boat. I don't give a shit what you think.
But what if they lose money year after year after year?
I don't care that you've got a master's in business. I don't care that you think you're so friggin' smart. We're gonna make it, and we're gonna fucking make it. And guess what? We're gonna succeed. That's what we're gonna do. So you can just. And
Yeah, but what if that loses money every year?
That could be why I'm not at Jackson Kayak.
I'm starting to understand this board meeting.
So I mean, okay. So moving on. So
I'm getting some insight now into the meeting.
So going forward, you're financially. I mean, you're financially on the hook now for Apex, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the decisions you make now are going to have immediate effect on your
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now this is a chance for you to say, I'm going to run this business the way I've always wanted to run it, right? I mean, if I understand correctly, Jackson had other financial stakeholders that may or may not let you do what you want to do, right?
Correct.
But now you are in charge.
That's right. And the only limitation will be whether I have, you're always limited by your resources, human or cash. So I'll do as much as I can with the cash and resources I have. And you'll see about them. You'll see what. So it's arguable. So for example, you would say, like, what kind of idiot's going to make a boat for 11 grand and like hang their whole hat on a boat that's like so out there on price and whatever, and it doesn't even look like anything. Aren't you taking a big risk there? It's like, depends who you ask. Like for me, risk is.
This is another expression.
Okay, so there's if you want to do anything extraordinary, well, you can't be ordinary. If you do anything like anybody else is doing, you're not doing anything extraordinary. And if Apex Watercraft is going to completely come in and revolutionize the market and do things then you got to go that way. And it's not like, oh, we're going to make a really expensive boat, so we're going to make the best boat. Oh, by the way, holy shit, it's going to be 11 grand. I was really hoping it was going to be like 6 to 8 grand. It's like, but we didn't make a $6,000 to $8,000 boat. We made an $11,000 boat. Okay, well, who's going to buy an $11,000 boat? Well, guess what? You're about to find out. And people have already bought the boat, and people are buying the boat, and a lot of people are going to buy the boat. Now, what's going to happen when I spend 11 grand? I've got the guy I've got molding my boat literally made the F-22 Raptor. He made the first carbon fiber fighter jet for Lockheed Martin. He managed a $47 million per week budget doing nothing other than figuring out how to make a fighter jet out of carbon fiber. And he also brought a lot of the top bicycle companies into carbon fiber. He's the guy, when you get an Apex Watercraft, he literally was cutting the fight and infusing and making this boat. Does that mean it's going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But it's like, we've got the right people doing the things with that kind of we've got materials that we're already working with that kayaks have never seen, the industry's never seen. Why? Because he's the head of R&D for Enegra Fabrics, for example, and he's doing all these, got this coating we put on the hull. Can't really tell you what that is, but anyway, we got this cool stuff that's coming up that he's able to do. That all that stuff is, if I've got access to it, that stuff I can start bringing in different forms to the market, whether it be a whitewater kayak, a fishing kayak, or whatever we happen to do. Oh, by the way, he has 240 horsepower electric ducted fans for this airplane that he makes. I'm going to be sticking that on my kayak. But literally, like, that's coming, by the way. It's like, I'm so excited. It's going to be so scary, though. Like, if I put little wings on the kayak, I will actually fly. Set the world's record for the fastest kayak, like, in the next 12 months.
Is this scalable? I mean, what you're saying, it talks about something that's going to be like a cottage type business indefinitely. I mean, talk about one guy who's doing all this.
No, if you know anything about me, I only like graphs that go like this. Okay,
right.
So
but to go like that, you're going to have to go into cheaper boats, right? I mean, you're going to have a variety of boats that come in.
Okay, so $10,000 bikes are what make a $3,000 bike so much better. It's the pushing into the halo bikes, and John, you're a biker dude, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So John Grace, meaning, I don't know whether John Weld, whether you got bikes too or not, but John Grace, what's your most expensive bike you've ever bought?
About $4,500.
Okay, that $4,500 bike has benefited greatly by the companies that made the $10,000 bikes. So you think, like, It's probably better than the $10,000 bikes were 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, would be my guess. The point is that 10 years from now, I'm forcing the kayak industry to make a higher quality product at a lower price. I may or may not be the one that's making it, but we'll expect more from people who are going to try to get more of what I'm offering the customer at less money, and we'll figure out how to do that. But even if I'm selling more product, I'm hoping I can get the price down. I definitely want to, but it would require volume, it would require investment in equipment and whatever that, so at the moment, it is what it is.
So regardless of the success of your Kickstarter campaign, this company is going forward.
Oh, absolutely. So the Kickstarter, my real hope, don't tell anybody, but if the Kickstarter doesn't
it's just us.
If the Kickstarter doesn't succeed, then my competitors are going to look at it. They're not watching the Hammer Factor anyway. They're going to look at it and go like, nah, I knew he was an idiot. See, his Kickstarter failed. Like, clearly that's not a direction we want to go. And
but isn't that some kind of data point, though?
It is. Well, but what is succeeding? I set the goal of 117,000. What would you set it at? What should I set it at? I could have made it succeed guaranteed. Not guaranteed, but I could have set it at 20 grand. I could have set it at 50 grand. I could have set it at $1 million. I said it, less than 1% of Kickstarters ever get to 100 grand. Now I'm not probably going to get to 100 grand. My guess is I'll probably get to 80 or something like that. But even at the 80, if you look at, I'll be in the top 3% of Kickstarters by the time I'm done. You can look it up. I'm at 54,000. What percentage of Kickstarters get to 54,000? I'll bet you I'm in the top 10% right now. Is that successful?
But you're reconfiguring the data to look good for you. I mean, I think at the bottom line, you should be looking at that and be thinking, we should be doing like, this is some indication of a marketable product, right?
Okay, I've sold 6 boats.
Right.
In 2 weeks, whatever. So I sold 3 boats a week. I sold 5 in the first week, and then 1 this week. So 6 boats in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So that's 3 a week. Direct online, sold 3 weeks. I've sold $54,000 worth of stuff in, or 2 weeks. I mean, well, guess what? That's successful. This is for sight unseen. It's not even done. Extremely limited amount of information. Total sticker shock. All that, I still sold 6 boats. And by the end, I've sold more. And then, anyway, from my perspective, I would have liked it to fund. I wanted to sell, let's say, 25 boats. I didn't. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to sell 25 boats in the 3 weeks. Okay, well, I've got a $375,000 loan at Security Federal Bank in McMinnville, Tennessee, and I've got like $15,000 left on the credit line. Well, if it doesn't fund, guess what? We're at the end zone. We're out of money. We totally failed. Okay. Well, then you're like, well, I've got $54,000 worth of people that have bought stuff. I contacted each one. Are you guys good to go if this doesn't fund? Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want this boat. Okay, cool. Okay, well then I guess I should probably call, and I had a dealer call me. I wasn't going to open any dealers until after the Kickstarter. And I'm like, okay, so he's like, I just want to order them. He started ordering boats. I got my first check in the mail today. Revenue started, and I'm selling boats right now and collecting money. So anyway, I'm like at the very bottom. I'm like, this is a total, like for the next 3 months, it's like it's go time. Like I have to sell boats and collect money.
Right.
And build this thing up. I mean, absolutely, it's not like I can go and just borrow more money. Like I'm all in.
Are you gun shy about taking an equity partner in?
Gun shy, yeah. I'm bazooka shy, nuclear bomb shy.
I hear you.
Yeah, right now, it's much. Yeah, I'm definitely gun shy. I'm the only thing better than being majority owner is being sole owner. I want to. my intention is to remain sole owner for the indefinite period of time. I could change my tune on that but I don't want to do what I did at Jackson Kayak.
Yeah, I hear you.
EJ, I'm going to back up here a little bit. It's exciting. I think if you show this boat performing the way you've talked about it on this show, and you can actually show that, see some big fish being caught in it, get to some places, and I know that you'll do that over time. I mean, you're as tenacious as anybody. I think it'll really add to the success. I want to back up a little bit. I gotta run here in a little bit, but most of our audience, they're 25 to 35 years old. They're whitewater kayakers, and
let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about. Last time we had you on the show, we didn't jump into some of the things that I've always wanted to know. Is like, what advice would you give to a paddler out there who's just wanting to get good? We get emails all the time. I'm paddling class 3. I want to paddle some class 4. Like how would you give someone advice? How did you make it happen?
Okay. So being good at whitewater kayaking is a combo. It's number one is having the basics down. So, and the basics for me are strokes and concepts, rolling and bracing, and then your river running skills. And then you have your specific skills related to either play boating, racing, or steep whitewater stuff. So if you're not really proficient, really good at your rolling and bracing, if you spend more than a second underwater when you tip over, well, you're not really good at rolling and bracing. So, and every time you roll, and if you don't roll often enough, you're not going to be confident. If you're not super confident in your roll, you're not going to progress. It's a challenge. Same with the brace. If you feel like you're going to tip over all the time, and you don't know that you can brace, like you're falling over, like you can catch yourself all the time, the confidence is down, your learning curve is flattened dramatically. One. The second one is your strokes and concepts. If you're not super efficient at maneuvering your boat, and most of the information in strokes and concepts is bullshit, meaning like the ACA manual and whatever, like this stuff that's out there, it's old, outdated, and incorrect. There's more old wives' tales and bullshit information of how to paddle your boat in whitewater kayaking than, I don't know, maybe every sport has it, but it's terrible. There's a lot of bad information out there. They say those who can do and those who can't teach. Now, the reality, that's the reality in most situations. It's really difficult to find teachers that actually know how to paddle and can demonstrate. So you need to figure out, make sure you get your information from the right sources. So where should you get the information? From the best paddlers in the world. Why did I create EJ's Strokes and Concepts program? Because I saw all the best slalom racers back in the day. They're super good racers, and then they would disappear. And all the information they had and all the skills they had went with it. They didn't transfer it to anybody. No interest to them. Bill Endicott was the only one that wrote books trying to analyze how these top slalom racers got good, but it was always very specific to slalom, and it wasn't necessarily, anyway, so specific, and it was so old. It was 80s and 70s, whatever. So that's why I did it, when I realized that information wasn't available. So I wanted to at least provide what I knew to people. So that's where that came from. And if you want, why is Dane so good? Because he got the basics from the beginning, and he really likes it, and he's confident in his roll, he's confident in his brace, he's got really good stroke, and of course now he gets to paddle a lot. So then the next one is, a lot of people approach paddling, if you look at people that get into slalom, they want to be in the Olympics, or they want to be a world champion or whatever. They approach it from the wrong perspective, I believe, where it's just this end goal. But what they do every day isn't super fun to them. So making sure that whatever you're doing every day is super fun. So if you want to do it over and over and over. So like the best people that win the green race, that go and do well in the green race over the years, the Tommy Hillickys and Pat Keller, like that. Why were they good? Because they love running the green. They run it every day. It wasn't because, I have to run the green so I can win the race. I'm going to run the green because it's fun. And who's shooting firecrackers? Somebody's shooting firecrackers really loud. No?
It's Geltman's chair, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
Anyway, so making sure that you really enjoy the part of the sport you're in, and you're doing it because it's fun. I think that is the critical part. If you're going to get good, you're going out, you're going to go and do it over and over and over again. And if you're not having a lot of fun with that specific thing, find something else that is fun. Those are the main ones, I guess. Obviously, there's a lot of information online. You can kind of see what people are doing or whatever. But at the end of the day, you get your basics down. I don't care if you're a Class 5 boater. Class 5 boaters better get their fucking roll down. Like, half the Class 5 boaters suck at kayaking. They're never going to get better until they get their roll down. And then they need to do some play boating, because until they learn how to get out of holes, they're going to be every time they get to a rapid with a hole, it's going to be a problem. Or if you're a play boater and you don't spend any time on the steep stuff and deal with rocks, every time you see a bunch of rocks, you're going to freak out and not know what to do. So anyway, it's also the variety pack is really good. So if you look at truly the best kayakers in the world, they have a broad skill set, but it usually starts at really good at rolling and bracing. And who gets good at rolling and bracing? People that do that a lot. And what's the one way to roll a lot and brace a lot? Do a play boating. Who's good at river running skills? People that creek boat a lot. You combine those two things, and that's how you get really good. Is that you should get out there and surf holes, surf waves, go run some rivers, and mix it up. Now, of course, fitness is a part of it too, but fitness doesn't come in as nearly as much as technique until you get to the very top of the sport.
What would you do different if you were starting Jackson Kayaks right now?
At Jackson?
What would you do different if you were starting Jackson Kayaks right now? Like, what are you doing different now that you learned from your time at Jackson?
The one thing I did wrong at Jackson Kayak is I priced too low in the beginning. So we were successful at selling boats, but we didn't make enough money to be super strong financially early on. When all of my competitors were making linear kayaks for $1,000 to $1,100, I was making crosslink, which is way more expensive kayaks, for $900. With 40% margins when they had 30-something% margins. So meaning the amount of money I was collecting, I was collecting probably $200 less per kayak, or $180 less per kayak than my competitors for a kayak that cost me a lot more to make. That was a mistake. And how does that? But the customer's like, yeah, but I saved money. It's like, yeah, but the reality is, if a business doesn't make enough money, then in the end you get hurt by it, because what they can actually afford to do isn't as much. Now my partner Tony was awesome, and he was able to invest, which is how I ended up losing control. Once, as we kept growing, we couldn't afford to. We bought a 100,000 square foot factory, and then we bought a 300,000 square foot factory, 320,000 square foot factory, and we employed 180 people and all these ovens, and one of the biggest factories out there, and it's like huge. That kind of investment, you need the profits to support it, but we got investment to support it. We had profits, but not enough to do what we were doing. So if I were to start over, I wouldn't have started at $899 and go to $849 in 2005. I would have started at $1,050 where everybody else was, and maintain higher pricing. We would have done better. We would have been financially stronger out of the gate, and I probably would still be majority owner. It was my mistake and my call, so it wasn't nothing to do with anybody else. It was all me.
Yep. Well, being removed from whitewater, EJ, it's going to be a different scene out there. I hope Apex makes some kind of composite or some kind of whitewater boat at some point. I'd just love to see it. I don't know how it works. I couldn't even begin to speculate on the finances of it all, but it would be cool to see some other material before I'm too old to kayak.
Yeah, some of my last whitewater design, the last boat I designed with David Knight will come out at some point in the future for Jackson Kayak, and that would be like my last hurrah at Jackson Kayak as far as whitewater boats. So I designed wave sport boats from '97 till 2003, and then 2003 I started designing for Jackson kayak boats. We launched our first boats in 2004. So 2020, 16 years later, we'll launch my last boat that David Knight and I designed together. He's still designing Jackson kayak. I don't actually know what they're working on. If they're working on stuff like,
Composite fishing kayaks.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like, now I could ask, and I don't even ask. Like Emily's right there, like, or Dane, like I'm just kind of like, hey Dane, are we making it? Are you guys working on a new boat? I don't know. Anyway, so, maybe they are.
Shut up, Dad. Stay out. I'm not doing anything. Leave me alone.
As far as I go, like, I paddle 100 days a year in whitewater. That's still more than most people. It's not 300 days a year like I used to, but it's not nothing, right? So anybody who says I'm not a whitewater paddler, I challenge any of them to a race, a freestyle competition. I don't care whether it's a sprint, an endurance, what it is. Right now, anybody that says I'm not a whitewater kayaker, I challenge them to anything right now.
You know, EJ's just like the rest of us, man. He got into whitewater and it ruined him. It ruined you. You had potential, EJ. Just like Weld had potential, just like I had potential. God, dude. All right, well.
So, point is that I also like designing whitewater boats. I've been doing it. My first whitewater design with David Knight was in 1992. That's however many years ago, 28 years ago, or whatever it is. 28 years ago. So I have no interest in stopping making whitewater boats. I think I know what I want. So at some point
Would you rotomold these boats, to be clear? Is rotomolding in the pipeline at some point?
There's no immediate plan for rotomolding. There's this amazing rotomolding facility right up the road at Jackson Kayak. And the way here's how I sell. Do you have any kind of non-compete with these guys? I've no non-compete. No. Rule number one for EJ, by definition, all I do is compete. Signing a non-compete is like signing a non-breathe. I've never had a non-compete, and I never will. There will never be any situation where I'll see a non-compete and go, oh, I'll sign that. No, I'll be in violation the second I sign it because I'm going to go compete.
So is Dane going to come to the green race in an Apex longboat this year? That's what I need to know.
No, probably not.
You should race the fishing kayaks.
I haven't made a new. I haven't made any whitewater boats and yet. But anyway, wait. I was going to tell you my line. You missed my line, man. So my line's.
How many beers you have?
57 brands out there making plastic rotomolded kayaks that are sold in the U.S. Just fishing kayaks, and there's like 40-some brands that are selling plastic rotomolded kayaks. But the way I do it in fishing, there's 37 brands making rotomolded fishing kayaks out there. There's one making a carbon fiber high-performance fishing kayak. So there is a boat. Out of those 47 brands, if you're looking for something between $399 and $6,000, in all these different configurations between, like 80 pounds and 150 pounds or whatever, paddle, or whatever, there's something for you. But if you're looking for a super lightweight, high-performance fishing kayak, now, yes, it happens to be 11 grand. There's just one of them. Here's one for you. So I'm making something different. Ultimately, when I get into, or if I get into whitewater stuff.
Little slip, my man.
What it will be and when it will be, who knows? But anyway, it's right now I'm very happy. When I go whitewater kayaking, if I do freestyle, I'm in. The last time I paddled Sip City, I paddled in a new boat nobody's ever seen. The last time before that was in Jackson Rockstar. I think it's the best freestyle kayak available, and out there I'm very happy. I designed that with David Knight, and I had input from Dane and Nick and Emily and Matthew Zumalone and all these people. Very happy with the boats that I'm paddling. They're all boats that I've designed or with David Knight. So if all of a sudden I'm the boats that are out there are boats that I didn't design, it's going to get me pretty motivated to start designing boats anyway.
Okay. Well, we have reached the end. Do you guys have anything for EJ? Because
I could go on and on, but we do need to wrap this up.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, EJ. Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Yeah. Good to see you guys, Lewis.
Good to see you, man.
Yep.
Been a while.
Well, we'll have to have you back on the show here at some point, EJ. And dude, the boat looks cool. I think it looks cool. I mean, I wasn't quite ready for the 11 grand, but the boat is cool. So
when you get over the sticker shock, it's anyway. So sorry about the sticker shock. It wasn't intentional. It is what it is. And but thanks for having me on, guys. When I'm looking at like history right here, you know, like that's awesome.
Oh, God. All right, we'll see you, man.
We are history. All right.
Oh man, that was great.
Yeah, there you go, Eric Jackson. 11 grand is just a lot. I mean,
well, he made a good point. And listen, I'm still dubious, right? I mean, there's a lot of flags here. I mean, I personally think when you do a Kickstarter, for it to be successful, your Kickstarters typically should be like 5x your goal, right? That's when you know you have marketability. And I understand, you know, what he's saying about, you know, that's not his only indication whether it's going to succeed or not. But I do like the idea of him pushing the envelope on pricing on boats.
I do too. And the whole
that has to happen.
The whole design and everything that's going on there is like, I mean, I think there's some real merit to it in the fishing world. I wish he would have just shown through all of that material something that showed the boat actually going faster than another boat with that electric motor, or catching a big fish or something. I feel like there's just a lot left on the table with the way this thing rolled out.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring this up, but there's just so much, you know, he's a talker and there's so much going on. But, you know, why go through all the trouble to make the best boat you possibly can and not put forth the best marketing you possibly can?
Yeah, it's always a struggle. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But anyway.
Yeah.
I could have went on and on. I had a whole list of EJ here about, you know, whitewater and whatever, but we'll pick his brain at some later point. I'm sure EJ is not going away.
No.
I'm so glad. It's just a reminder. I'm just like so glad that guys like EJ are in the sport. It's like you need that. Like you need like the EJs and the
who has the energy. It takes so much energy to keep something like that going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like,
you know what I mean? So much energy and so much negativity surrounding anybody who does that. And like, there's people telling him he can't do it.
Just him and Corin, right? It's like those guys. Like, I mean, as big of personalities as both of those guys are, I mean, where would the sport of kayaking be without EJ and Corin? Like, it would be in a very different place.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
No, EJ's out there and he's still doing it. Okay, guys, I got to run now to everybody's favorite section of the show. This is our Rants and Raves, where our host going a little bit of rant, a little bit of rave. Who wants to lead us off?
I'll go.
Let's hear it.
I got a rant.
Ooh, okay.
We run the store in White Salmon, little store, a retail store there. The law where we are is when you come in the store, you wear a mask. It's the law. I didn't make this up. I didn't make it up. It's not our doing. It's the law. Don't come into the store and start discussing why you're not wearing a mask. I don't care. Does not matter to me. It matters to me as much about your opinions on seatbelts or smoking in a bar. I do not care. Right? People come and use it as an excuse as like a venue to talk about whatever nuttiness they want to bring up about why they're not wearing a mask. Don't care. Right? And you hear about these things happening, but when you actually see it happen, you're like, Jesus Christ.
It's like dealing with my sister's kids or something.
Like, I don't. What? You make a square, right? Down one side you say, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. And across the top you say, mask wearing works, doesn't work. Guess what? If you wear a mask, you win no matter what. Okay? And you can put a little side column there that says, I'm an asshole, and check both of them. You can be an asshole and still wear a mask. That doesn't exclude you from wearing a mask. Right? It's a simple little decision tree you can make. Right? I could still be an asshole and wear a mask. It's a win across the board.
Oh, God. All right, I'm going to rave about the Green River simply because it's always running and it's great for kayaking, but the terrain in there and the mountain bikers and the people who come out for there. Yeah, I just am going to rave about the Green River because it's been my escape. Do you know what I'm saying?
Go back to the poop in a bag or something.
And
I'm
just,
sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just telling you, the
right.
people that it brings out, and just like, God, it's just, it's just sick. It's just sick. I mean, there's 100 mountain bikers out there in this terrain that like you normally would not want to go mountain biking, and they were just loving it. It's the same thing with kayaking. It's like this area of kayaking that most kayakers wouldn't want any piece of, but they're just out there loving it. So, just gonna rave about Mama Green. Easy rave for me. I had a couple rants, but I'm gonna keep it positive.
I like that. I feel like this is less of a rant because I can't blame those responsible. Well, I'm gonna rant about my sadness that we can't go to Canada this summer. It's just like it's killing me, man. I want to be in BC so badly right now, and I can't say that I blame the Canadians one lick for not wanting us up there right now. And it's just so soul crushing that our country is just such a fucking debacle. Like the culture that walks into IR and wants to talk about why they're not wearing a mask, the culture that thinks that this is some like personal freedom issue, the leadership who those people have put into office who are just allowing this thing to turn into smoldering dumpster fire. It's just, I want to go to Canada, man. I want out. That's all I got.
Go to outdooralliance.org. Seriously, like this LWCF thing could really happen in the next 6 days.
Yes, thank you, Grace.
Like, no kidding. And I'm with you. It's a bummer. We're locked. I mean, we're locked. We're locked in for you're not leaving this country for the next, till spring next year at the earliest. Nobody's going to want us in there. All right. Thanks for listening. Sorry to cut it off there at the end, but I have some things that I got to take care of. Adios.
Bye-bye.